They were never meant to survive that desert. But what happened there didn't just change a war, it changed the fate of two species. Kepler 9, a dead, boiling wasteland where sand could slice through armor, and where humanity's war against the Seryth Empire was supposed to hit its turning point. General Mara Cernat stood on a ridge of burning dunes as a sandstorm roared toward her platoon. She pulled off her helmet, felt the grit crack against her teeth, and said one order that would haunt her. Hold the line. No one breaks. Not today. Beside her, Commander Ion Dragoy cursed into the comms. We're losing signal with the Valiant. No orbital support. If the Seryth break through, they won't, Mara snapped. Not while I'm still breathing. But the storm wasn't just wind. There were shadows in it, Seryth scouts. Fast. Precise. Born for war. And leading them was a name whispered like a nightmare. Lyrix, the Seryth war mind, a commander so lethal even alien generals feared her. The storm broke, and the battlefield exploded. Human rifles lit the dunes. Seryth plasma sliced the air. Soldiers screamed as armored shapes blurred through the sand, cutting through squads like they were made of papered in the chaos. A voice cracked through comms, breaking a father's soul in half. Dad. Cadet Doru Dragoy, Ion's son, vanished into a collapsing sand tunnel. Ion lost his mind. He charged, firing blindly, shoving soldiers aside, screaming his son's name. The storm swallowed the sound. And then, something no human expected happened. In the darkness beneath the dunes, Doru found someone else trapped with him. Not a soldier, but a Seryth child, crying. Doru shielded the alien kid with his own body as rocks fell in. Oh, hesitation. No hate, just instinct and destiny. When Mara and Lyrix reached them, they lifted the stones together. One human hand, one Seryth hand, saving a life that neither side should have cared about. That moment shouldn't have meant anything. But history loves accidents like this. That night, after the battle, the camp was silent. Humans stared at the rescued alien child like it was a bomb. Ion shook, still pale, still angry, still scared. They'll kill us in our sleep, Mara. Don't trust them. But Mara had seen something in Lyrix's eyes during that rescue. Something she wasn't ready to admit. At midnight, Lyrix arrived, alone, and said words that could have gotten her executed by her own empire. There is something beneath this desert. A machine our ancestors left behind. We call it Concordia. A myth. A weapon. A key. Lyrix looked directly into Mara's eyes. If we activate it with hate, it will destroy us all. If we activate it with something else, it could end this war forever. Not with treaties. Not with surrender. With something neither side remembered how to feel. Trust, connection, maybe even love. Mara should have arrested her. Should have shot her on the spot. Instead, she whispered, "Show me." And at sunrise, humans and Seryth, sworn enemies, walked together into the caves beneath Kepra. 9. What they found down there was not a weapon. It was a choice, that a test built for only two beings, one human, one Seryth, to activate together, and it judged not strength, but truth. When Mara and Lyrix touched the interface, reality ripped open around them. Visions hit them like lightning. A future where humanity wins, but becomes a cold, united hive. A future where humanity loses, but dies holding their children, still human. A future where a human and a Seryth fall in love and unite both species or doom them forever. When they came back to reality, Ion raised his rifle, shaking. "What did she do to you?" "Answer me, Mara." Mara looked at Lyrix, and Lyrix looked back. They both knew the truth. One wrong feeling between them, love or hate, could destroy two civilizations. And the worst part, that feeling had already begun. War teaches one rule: never care about the enemy, because the moment you do, you've already lost. What General Mara Cernat felt after touching Concordia with Lyrix that day, she prayed it was fear. She needed it to be fear, because if it wasn't, millions would die. When they returned to the surface, the desert felt different, like the sand itself was listening. Soldiers stared at Mara like she was contaminated. Some stepped back, some reached for weapons, and Commander Ion Dragoy didn't see his general anymore. He saw a traitor. "You let her inside your mind. You expect me to trust anything that thing showed you." Lyrix stayed silent. She didn't argue. That made it worse. Mara looked around at her people, tired, scared, angry. If she admitted even one emotion, it would shatter them. Oh, she lied. We only saw tactical projections. Nothing more. But Ion knew her too well. His voice dropped, quiet, broken. Mara, please. Tell me you didn't feel anything. Her silence was the answer that ended a friendship of 17 years. That night, the camp split in two. Half of the soldiers wanted to execute Lyrix immediately. The other half, shaken by Doru's rescue of the alien child, weren't sure anymore. Because if a human boy could protect the enemy, maybe the war wasn't as simple as they were told. Inside the command tent, Mara Cernat, Mara's daughter, stared at the data from the Concordia visions. Her hands trembled as she replayed the moment her future self was raising a united banner of peace on a starship garden. Mom, what if Concordia isn't a weapon? What if it's a bridge? Mara shook her head. A bridge built on what? Love? That's not strategy, that's suicide. Anna whispered. Sometimes, the most dangerous strategy is the only one that works. Meanwhile, outside the camp, under the shattered moonlight of Kepra 9, Lyrix sat alone, her armor removed, no soldiers. No empire, just her. Mara found her there, because of course she did. For the first time, Lyrix looked small. Not a war legend. Not the Empire's weapon. Just someone tired of bleeding. If your people knew I went down into Concordia with you, Lyrix said softly, they would burn my name from history. Mara swallowed. If mine knew what I felt in there, they would do the same. Silence. Heavy. Magnetic. Dangerous. Lyrix turned, meeting Mara's eyes with a calm that hurt. Tell me you felt nothing, and I will walk away. Mara opened her mouth, and no words came. Because the truth was a knife. She hadn't felt fear. She had felt recognition. Two enemies who understood each other more deeply in one moment than in a lifetime with their own people. Mara finally whispered, I don't know what I felt. Lyrix smiled, tragic, sad, knowing. Then the universe is already changing. Before anything more could be said, alarms blared across the camp. Seryth dropships, hundreds, darkened the sky. Not for negotiation, not for rescue, for purge. Lyrix's own empire had come to erase her for what she did, and to kill every human who witnessed it. Ion stormed into the command tent as soldiers scrambled to defenses. This is what trusting the enemy gets us. Mara had seconds to choose. Hand Lyrix over to avoid a massacre, or protect her and become a traitor to her own species. Lyrix stepped forward, ready to surrender. Let them take me. If you fight for me, they will slaughter your people. Mara's heart tore. One piece for her duty, one piece for the enemy who wasn't an enemy anymore. Then, Doru's small voice cut through the panic. If they kill her, they kill the baby Seryth too. Every soldier froze. Protecting an enemy commander was treason. Protecting an enemy child was worse. But killing a child, even an alien one, would stain humanity's soul forever. Ion raised his pistol at Lyrix. We end this now. Mara stepped between them, pointed her weapon at Ion. Gasps exploded across the camp. Her next words would either save them or ignite a civil war. Nobody touches her. The sky burned as the first Seryth strike ships descended. War forces impossible choices, but this one would haunt humanity for centuries. Seryth strike ships split the sky like burning spears, descending toward the human camp. Sand lifted in violent waves as thrusters ignited the dunes. Soldiers scrambled into defensive positions, hearts pounding with one truth. The Empire wasn't here to negotiate. They were here to erase the corruption. Lyrix, and everyone who had stood beside her. Inside the camp, rifles pointed in every direction, at the sky, at the gates, and at each other. Because General Mara Cernat had just done the unthinkable. She aimed her weapon not at the alien commander, but at her own second-in-command, Ion Dragoy, the man who had been her closest ally for 17 years. Stand down, Ion, Mara warned. This isn't how humanity wins. Ion's voice shook with betrayal. Humanity doesn't win by falling in love with its executioner. The word hit harder than any plasma blast. Love that it shouldn't have been spoken. Not here. Not now. Not in front of soldiers who already doubted their leader. The murmur spread like wildfire. General, is it true? Did she bond with the alien? Is she compromised? Mara didn't flinch that if she showed weakness now, everything collapsed. Nobody touches Lyrix. That's an order. Ion lowered his weapon, only to point it at the young Seryth child Doru had rescued. Then I'll do what you're too blind to do. It starts by killing the infection at its root. Before he could fire, Anna, Mara's daughter, moved like lightning, shoving Ion's arm upward. The gunshot tore into a tent pole instead of flesh. Gasps exploded. The camp was one breath away from a human-on-human massacre. Outside the walls, Seryth warriors formed a perimeter. Their armor glowed with pulsing sigils. Purification protocol. Not capture. Not negotiation. Extermination. Lyrix stepped forward, voice steady but hollow. They will not stop. If they see you defend me, they will label your entire species infected. They will burn worlds, Mara. Not just this one. Mara's jaw trembled. She saw it in Lyrix's eyes. She was ready to walk out and die to protect them. But before Mara could answer, someone unexpected took the stage. Command Ion's son. Doru. He stepped between the Seryth child and the soldiers, arms out like a shield. His voice was small, but the kind that silences armies. If we killed children to win, then we're not the good guys anymore. No one moved. Not humans. Not aliens. Not even the wind. In that moment, a 13-year-old cadet reminded them of something every war tends to bury. Humanity isn't a species. Humanity is a choice. Ion looked at his son, and his anger crumbled into a grief so raw it almost broke him. But pride, fear, and years of military indoctrination chained his heart shut. He turned to Mara, voice hoarse. If you protect her, you doom our home. Earth will never accept this. Mara finally said the truth that had been choking her since the Concordia vision. Maybe Earth is wrong. Silence. Then she took the step that crossed a line no general in human history ever had. She handed Lyrix a human combat knife, the symbol of trust between soldiers. If we run together. If we fight together. If we die together. That was the moment the soldiers learned a terrifying thing. Mara Cernat wasn't confused. She wasn't brainwashed. She had chosen the enemy, and some of her troops chose with her. About a third of the camp moved behind Mara, forming a protective perimeter around Lyrix and the alien child. Another third lined up behind Ion, aiming rifles at their own comrades. Human against human. Allies against allies. Two sides of the same species, ready to kill each other over one alien life. It was no longer humanity versus Seryth had become humanity versus humanity, and high above, the Seryth Empire's flagship opened its hangar doors, revealing a weapon that could glass the entire desert in one strike. Mara looked up and whispered to Lyrix, "If this is the beginning of us, this is how we end the world." When a war becomes personal, it stops being a war. It becomes a reckoning. The Seryth flagship hovered over the desert like a burning eclipse, ready to erase everything beneath it. Human, alien, ally, traitor, all of it. Inside the camp, weapons stayed raised. One wrong breath, one trembling finger, and humanity would start a civil war before the aliens even fired a shot. General Mara Cernat knew she had seconds, not minutes, seconds before the sky fell. She spoke without shouting, because true leaders don't need volume to be heard. If you fire on your own people today, the Seryth don't win. We do their job for them. Ion glared back, voice cracking under the weight of everything he believed. If we protect her, we lose who we are. Mara's answer was a knife to his certainty. Or maybe, we find who we were supposed to be. Then it happened. A young soldier on Ion's side, terrified, shaking, misheard a shout and pulled the trigger. The shot struck a human soldier on Mara's side. One gunshot. That's all it took. Chaos exploded. Humans fired at humans. Shouts turned to screams. Dust turned red. Lyrix grabbed Mara by the arm. This is what Concordia warned us about. Love used at the wrong time becomes a weapon. Mara clenched her teeth. We're not losing this to fear. She raised her pistol to the sky and fired 3 times. The universal military code for ceasefire. But no one listened, because fear is louder than reason. Then the desert itself shook. A beam of violet energy slammed into the sand, not vaporizing the camp, but separating the 2 human factions. The shockwave threw soldiers off their feet. Not an attack, a warning shot. From the flagship above, a voice blasted across the desert in the Seryth language, cold, ceremonial, merciless. Lyrix's face went pale. They've invoked the Purge mandate. If I am not surrendered in 60 seconds, they will sterilize this entire sector. Ion turned to Mara, begging through gritted teeth. Don't throw our species away for a feeling. Mara stared at Lyrix, the woman who was supposed to be her enemy, the woman who should have died on sight, who should have been nothing but a target. SOY. Did Mara feel more truth in Lyrix's presence than in the entire military she had served her whole life? The countdown echoed from the flagship. 50 seconds. Mara made her choice, a choice no human general had ever made. We escape. All of us. Soldiers looked at her like she'd lost her mind. Escape to where? They control the skies. We're trapped. Lyrix placed her hand on Mara's. Not romantic. Not desperate. Grounding. United. There is one place the Empire cannot fire upon. A sanctuary planet. They call it the Silent Aurora. Ion scoffed. A fairy tale. A diplomatic myth. Lyrix shook her head. It's real. And if we reach it, we can ask for interstellar asylum. Protection under the oldest galactic law. Mara turned to her troops. We're leaving this planet. Those who stay, stay under Ion's command. No shame. No judgment. Ion's eyes filled with betrayal and heartbreak. The kind that only forms when a friend becomes a stranger. I hope she's worth ending humanity for. Mara corrected him softly. I'm not ending humanity. I'm trying to save it. 10 seconds. Lyrix activated her wristband, projecting the coordinates of a hidden Seryth stealth shuttle buried under the dunes. Their only chance. Everyone ran. Even those who doubted Mara, because doubt is still hope, trying to live. Gunfire. Sandstorms. Screams. The escape was a blur of desperation and fate colliding. As the stealth shuttle powered up, Mara grabbed the controls. Ion watched from a distance, fists trembling, tears streaming. Because love, even broken, still hurts. The last thing Mara saw before the shuttle soared into the sky was Ion holding his son, Doru, back. Refusing to join her, it shattered something inside her, because for the first time, she realized not everyone was meant to be saved. The stealth shuttle broke through the clouds just as the flagship fired. A beam of annihilation engulfed the desert. Kepra, 9 disappeared behind them in a storm of violet fire. Mara whispered, "Please let we're doing be right." Lyrix whispered back, "Right is something we will have to build ourselves." They had chosen each other. Now the galaxy would answer. They thought escaping the desert was the hard part. They were wrong. Escaping a planet is easy. Escaping your own people is impossible. The stolen Seryth stealth shuttle tore through the upper atmosphere as Kepra, 9 burned behind them. Mara, Lyrix, Anna, Doru, the Seryth child, and 14 soldiers packed the small craft. Fugitives from both sides of the war, in no home. No army. Just a hope so fragile it could shatter from a whisper. Inside the cockpit, alarms flashed red, but Mara kept her eyes forward as if looking back would make her break. Lyrix sat beside her, silent, too silent. For the first time since they met, Lyrix wasn't a commander. She wasn't a warrior. She was a refugee, and that truth hurt more than any battlefield wound. Anna watched them from the co-pilot's seat, analyzing, calculating, already planning the next 5 moves. We need a new identity tag. Anna said, the second we hit open space, every Seryth patrol will detect us. Lyrix nodded and reached for a hidden panel under the console. Mara raised an eyebrow. You knew about this escape route the whole time? Lyrix didn't look at her. I always plan the impossible. It's the only plan that ever works. But Mara heard the truth beneath her words. She had considered running, long before Mara came into her life. When they broke through the atmosphere into the black silence of space, everyone stared at the stars. They weren't beautiful. They were terrifying. Because out there, every star was a border, a law, a weapon, a threat. Doru whispered, "Are we the bad guys now?" Mara didn't answer, because leaders don't get to have doubts, even when those doubts are screaming. The Seryth child, trembling, clutching a blanket, crawled toward Lyrix, who gently wrapped her arms around them. It looked so natural, so human, that the soldiers didn't know whether to be moved or scared. Mara saw it too, and something inside her softened, dangerously. Then the radar pinged. Anna's eyes widened. We've been tagged. Seryth interceptor on approach, fast. One ship, sleek, silent, deadly. The kind designed not for battle, but for assassination. Lyrix froze. That's not a patrol. That's a silencer-class hunter. They're here to kill me, without trace, and anyone with me. Mara's fists tightened on the controls. They'll have to go through us first. Lyrix turned sharply. Do not fight. They will kill you instantly. Surrender me. Mara didn't hesitate. No, Lyrix's voice cracked, the first sign of panic she had ever shown. Mara, listen to me. If you die for me, this becomes a tragedy. If you live with me, it becomes a revolution. Mara met her eyes, and for one breath, the war disappeared. Then let's start a revolution. The hunter ship locked on. Warning sirens shrieked. One hit would tear the shuttle apart. Anna grabbed the navigation. There's a debris field ahead, old war wreckage from the first expansion. If we thread through it, we might lose them. Mara smirked. A minefield of dead ships in the dark? Sounds like home. They dove into the graveyard of broken starcraft, weaving through twisted metal, shattered engines, floating bodies frozen in time. The hunter followed, precise, surgical, unstoppable. Then Anna shouted. Incoming transmission, audio only. Mara hesitated. Lyrix whispered. Put it through. The voice that filled the cabin was soft, calm, deadly. Lyrix of the Seryth High Command. You broke the Concord. You touched the human's mind. You chose infection. Therefore, your existence ends here. Lyrix swallowed. Varen, I hoped they wouldn't send you. A name. A familiar one. Mara caught the look in Lyrix's eyes and felt her stomach drop. This wasn't just a hunter. This was someone Lyrix once cared about, maybe deeply. Maybe like Mara cared now. Varen continued. The human dies quickly. You die slowly. Mara cut the channel. He sounds charming. Lyrix didn't smile. They burst into a clearing of space, but it wasn't emptied. In the center of the debris field drifted a massive derelict arc ship. Human design, centuries old, lights still faintly glowing. Anna gasped. That's a generation arc from Earth's early colonization era. If we dock, its hull might block our energy signature. They had no time to debate. Mara hit the thrusters. They slid into the Ark's docking bay just as the hunter ship passed overhead, scanning. Everyone held their breath. The hunter didn't detect them. It moved on, for now. Inside the dark Ark ship, the air was stale with ghosts of humanity's past, families who fled Earth long ago and never made it. Mara walked alongside Lyrix through the silent halls lit by flickering emergency lights. Lyrix spoke quietly. This ship was humanity's dream once. To leave war behind. To start over. Mara whispered. Maybe we're just the next ones trying. For a moment. One impossible, fragile moment. Mara and Lyrix stood inches apart, the silence between them louder than any battlefield. Lyrix's hand brushed Mara's. Not a kiss. Not yet. Just the first spark of the fire that could save or destroy them. Then, a scream echoed from the cargo bay. Everyone rushed back. The Ark's internal lights flickered on, revealing something none of them expected. They weren't alone on this ship. Standing in the shadows were survivors, descendants of the original. Colonists, armed, wild-eyed, and pointing rifles at them. The leader stepped forward, hair white, face scarred, voice like gravel. State your allegiance. Human or alien? Mara froze, because answering either one could get them all killed. Some survivors are heroes. Others are warnings. And the people living on this Ark? They were both. Weapons aimed at Mara's group. Old ballistic rifles modified with scrap metal and alien tech. The survivors looked human, but not like any humans the crew had seen before. Skin pale from generations without sunlight. Eyes huge and reflective, adapted to darkness. Clothing made from insulation sheets and faded flags of Earth's past. They looked like ghosts wearing the memory of humanity. Their leader, the scarred white-haired man, stepped closer. For the last time, choose. Human or alien? Mara didn't answer, because she finally saw what the real trap was. No answer was safe. If they said human, they would be expected to kill Lyrix. If they said alien, they would be executed as traitors. But Anna noticed something on the leader's chest. A patch. Torn, faded, but still readable. U.N. Ark Covenant Initiative motto. We leave Earth to preserve what makes us human. Anna whispered. Mom, they weren't running from war. They were running from Earth's future. Mara took a slow breath. Then she answered with a third option, the only one that could reframe everything. We choose humanity, not sides. A ripple went through the Ark survivors. Confusion, anger, fear, curiosity. The leader lowered his rifle half an inch. Pretty words. Worthless without proof. Lyrix stepped forward, unarmed, startling everyone. Then test me first. I am the alien. Judge me before them. Mara's heart stopped. Was Lyrix trying to sacrifice herself again? The survivors aimed all weapons at her. The leader's voice was a cold blade. You stepped aboard our sanctuary. You carry the war we escaped. Give us one reason not to space you where you stand. Lyrix didn't blink. Because I carry something the galaxy has forgotten. Choice. Mara whispered through clenched teeth. Lyrix, what are you doing? Lyrix didn't look back. The same thing you did in the desert. They were escorted deeper into the Ark, down corridors lit by flickering emergency lights, walls carved with charcoal drawings of generations born in metal halls, never seeing stars except through windows. Children peeked from behind railings. Some pointed at Lyrix, some at Mara. Not with hate, but with fearful wonder. The Ark survivors brought them into a wide chamber, an old amphitheater once used for education. Now, it was a courtroom. The entire surviving population, maybe 200 people, gathered in silence. The leader stood at the center platform. We left Earth to avoid choosing between hatred and surrender. We came here believing we could build a pure humanity. Instead, we became something else. He gestured to their pale skin, their enlarged eyes, their hunched forms. In saving ourselves, we lost ourselves. The room fell quiet. Then he pointed at Mara and Lyrix. Your presence forces a question we sealed away generations ago. Can humanity exist without an enemy? A murmur ran through the crowd. This wasn't a trial of Mara. It was a trial of humanity itself. Anna stepped forward, voice clear and sharp. If isolation was the answer, you wouldn't be pointing guns at each other right now. The leader studied her. You speak like someone who still believes in Earth. Anna shook her head. No, I believe in something older than Earth. The entire Ark leaned in. I believe in the version of humanity you left to protect. Compassion, curiosity, growth, connection. The survivors flinched at that last word. Connection, like it was a forgotten language. Then the Seryth child, the one Doru saved, stepped forward, holding Doru's hand. Side by side point two children. Different species. No fear. Just something the Ark hadn't seen in generations. Pure, uncontaminated innocence. The room gasped. Some cried. Because children recognize truth before adults do. Doru spoke, quietly, but his words echoed like prophecy. If we keep choosing fear, we won't be human or Seryth anymore. Just alone. The Ark survivors lowered their weapons. For the first time, the leader's voice softened. Maybe. You are what we were waiting for. Then the Ark shook, violently. Lights flickered red. Sirens blared for the first time in decades. A lookout ran into the chamber. They found us. The hunter ship doubled back, its locking weapons. The leader turned to Mara. We sheltered you. Now shelter us. Mara looked at Lyrix, both thinking the same thing. They weren't just fugitives anymore. They had people to protect. Lyrix grabbed Mara's forearm. Not romantic, not careful, desperate and real. If Varen boards this Ark, he won't just kill us. He'll make these people disappear like they never existed. Mara nodded. Then we don't let him board. Anna pulled up the Ark schematics. Her face went pale. Mom, you need to see this. In the center of the Ark, behind sealed bulkheads, was a chamber labeled with an old Earth warning. Concordia prototype. Do not not alien. Not Seryth. Human. And older than the war. If Concordia was on this Ark first, it meant everything they knew about its origins was a lie. Some stories end in war. The greatest ones end in transformation. The hunter ship latched onto the Ark like a predator sinking claws into its prey. Sirens screamed. Metal groaned. The survivors panicked. Varen, the executioner of the Seryth Empire, boarded with elite troops behind him, cutting through corridors toward the central chamber where the human-made Concordia prototype waited. Mara, Lyrix, Anna, and the survivors barricaded the entrance. Mara placed a hand on Lyrix's cheek, the first time without fear of being seen. No more running. Lyrix nodded. No more war. Varen's voice echoed outside the sealed door. Open this door, Lyrix. Let me spare your people the humiliation of dying with humans. Lyrix stepped forward, speaking through the comm panel. My people lost the moment they forgot how to feel. Silence. Then Varen answered with something that almost sounded like heartbreak. And you lost the moment you learned how. The door blew open. The final confrontation began. The battle was brutal. Humans and Ark survivors fought beside Lyrix's small team against Varen's elite. Mara and Varen clashed in the center. Soldier versus warrior, heart versus doctrine. Varen was faster, but Mara was fighting for more. When Varen nearly struck her down, Lyrix intercepted the blow, their blades locking, old familiarity flashing between them. We once fought for the same future, Varen. We did, he whispered, until you chose a human over your own. Lyrix's voice cracked. I didn't choose a human. I chose love. And love doesn't belong to one species. Varen hesitated, just enough for Mara to disarm him non-lethally. But the Ark was failing, systems collapsing, gravity flickering, atmosphere leaking. They had one chance left to activate Concordia. Not as a weapon, not as control, but as a bridge between species. Inside the Concordia chamber, the prototype pulsed, waiting. Ancient Earth tech designed to test unity, not power. Anna read the inscription. 2 minds. Free of fear. Free of hate. Linked in truth, or both shall fall. Mara exhaled. It has to be us. Lyrix reached for her hand. If this kills us, then we die changing something. Their fingers intertwined. Two enemies who chose each other. Concordia activated. Light wrapped around them. Not harsh, not cold. Warm, like a memory humanity had forgotten. Visions surged through them both. Human children playing with Seryth children on new worlds. Soldiers of both species united in exploration. Not war. Ion and Daru reunited on a peaceful Earth with Seryth ambassadors. Varen teaching the next generation about balance, not dominance. The Ark survivors stepping into the sun on a new homeworld, Mara and Lyrix. Older, watching 2 civilizations evolve, together no hive mind. No surrender of identity. A bridge, not a merger. When the light faded, Concordia transformed, broadcasting a pulse across space. A message, not of war, but of understanding. A wave spread through the Seryth fleet and the human battle groups converging nearby, forcing both sides to feel what Mara and Lyrix felt. Not love forced upon them, but the possibility of it. Weapons powered down, ships held fire. Commanders on both sides felt something unfamiliar. Empathy. Varen knelt, not defeated, but released. Lyrix, what have you done? Given us back what we lost. He bowed his head. Then, let me help you protect it. Months later, on a neutral world illuminated by 2 suns, a monument stood, a human hand and a Seryth hand, reaching toward each other, not touching, but close enough for hope to live in the space between. Mara and Lyrix walked among humans and Seryth living side by side. Not perfect, not without conflict, but trying. Daru and the Seryth child played nearby. Anna worked with scientists from both species on a new Concordia initiative. Varen trained joint peacekeepers. Mara looked up at the sky. We didn't end war everywhere. Lyrix smiled. No, but we proved it isn't the only story. Mara took her hand. Openly, proudly. Whatever comes next, we face it together. Lyrix's voice was soft, full of the future. Together, we rewrite the stars. And in that universe, for the first time in thousands of years, peace wasn't a dream. It was a beginning.